Our chicks are a week old, so it's the perfect time to talk about brooders and all of your options for your setup. If you're planning on having chicks over the next several months, you need to make sure that you have your brooders set up and ready for when they arrive. A brooder consists of 5 main components: a container, a heat source, feed, water, and bedding. We're gonna go through all of these things in detail so that you can make a decision on what works best for you and your chicks. A special thanks to Scratch and Peck Feeds for sponsoring this video. First, you need to decide what you're gonna raise your chicks in. There are 2 main things I want you to consider whenever you are choosing your container. The first is you need to think about how you're going to clean that container. The second is you need to make sure that that container has enough space for those chicks to grow. I commonly see people using 40-gallon containers to raise their chicks in. This is not, a no-go for raising chicks in it, but it is something that chicks will quickly outgrow. We are using a 100-gallon stock tank. This came from Tractor Supply. We just lucked out and were able to get it on sale. So I understand that this is probably out of some people's budget, but it is an option. Another option is to use a tent. This is something that I saw recently on YouTube. I'm not sure how this works from a cleanliness perspective or how people actually clean it, but it is another option as well. The last option would be to build something from scratch or maybe use some type of recycled shipping container. There are a lot of manufacturers who receive things in large palleted crates, and you might be able to get one for free and then raise your chicks in that. You could probably even raise them in a cardboard box, but this gets iffy because you do have a heat source in that box. The 2 most popular sources of heat are either a heat plate or a heat lamp. We decided to go with a heat plate because of the reduced risk of fire. One thing that we really like about this specific heat plate is that it is really easy to raise and lower as the chicks get older. So if you see here on the bottom, there's this little tab. I just squeeze it and I can move these pegs up and down. This is available on Amazon. I'm gonna throw links to everything that I talk about in this video below so that you can see all of your options. I also have a corresponding blog post that will be linked and have all of the pros and cons of each option. When your chicks start growing, they're gonna get curious and they're gonna wanna jump on everything. And if you have a flat brooder, they're gonna jump on it and they're gonna poop on it. So I highly recommend getting a cover to reduce the amount of cleanup. Now, if you're receiving mail order chicks or if you're hatching them in an incubator, you want to make sure that the source of heat is already set up and ready to go as soon as those chicks are ready to move in there. Quick thing to mention about our heat plate is that we have it at an angle, so this side on the left is actually lower than this side on the right. This is just a gradient of heat so that the chicks can decide what side they want to be on and how much heat they want. As the chicks get older, we will continue that gradient as much as possible just to allow some of the larger chicks to be here on the right-hand side. While we're in here, let's talk about the water and feed containers. Both of these containers are built specifically for chicks, so the feeder is built in a way that the chicks can't really scratch the feed onto the ground, and then they also aren't able to actually really get on it and poop on it as much as they would if it were just a regular container. The water is specifically designed so that the trough is a certain height so that the chicks cannot drown themselves. This is actually something that is more common than not, where chicks will dunk their whole head in the water and end up drowning. I purchased both of these on Amazon for about $15 to $20. Another option is to buy trays that are adaptable with the canning jar. You may have also noticed that we have some wire mesh in our brooder. This just helps with cleanliness of the feeder and the water. Chicks have a tendency to drag some of the bedding into their feed and water, especially if they are at a level height as all of their bedding. So we elevated this surface and then added that wire mesh. The idea is that if they poop, it falls through the wire mesh, and then underneath that I have some paper that will pick up any of those poopies. That makes it a lot easier for me to clean and maintain. You really want to make sure that your chicks constantly have access to clean food and water because it's really critical for their health. There are a couple of other options when it comes to water containers. You can buy one that has a little water nipple on it that they peck at, and then that gives them water. That's obviously going to get a lot less dirty than this does, but it is something that you're going to have to teach them how to do. When you teach a chick how to drink water for the first time, you take the little chickie and you dip its beak into water. Once 1 or 2 of them know how to do it, most of them follow. So we don't really stress over getting every single one of them to put their beak in the water, but it is something that you need to keep an eye on and make sure that all of them are drinking. If you're on a really tight budget or you're looking to use something you already have, you can definitely use a regular container. You just want to make sure that you fill it up with rocks or gravel or something else that's going to prevent the chick from being able to put its head inside the water and drown itself. This is an easy way to give them water if you don't really want to invest in any containers, but I do highly recommend considering this because it's very cost effective, and if you plan to do it for many years to come, then you'll have all the right equipment equipment for the future. While we're on the topic of water, I want to touch upon electrolytes. I highly recommend that you buy some of this and have it on hand for when your chicks arrive in the mail. Your chicks have been traveling and they're going to be dehydrated and really thirsty, so it's a good idea to put some electrolytes in that water and have it ready in your brooder for when they arrive. We hatched our chicks this year, and even then we still have electrolytes in their water, and we plan to use it for the first 2 weeks. Along the same lines, if you don't really want to buy a new container to store your chick feed in, you can totally use something that you already have. You're just going to have to monitor it, make sure that they don't poop in it, make sure you keep it clean, that sort of thing. So the really big benefit to this is that they don't scratch it out and they can't really poop in it. But if you want to use something you already have, that's fine too. On the topic of feed, we feed our chicks Scratch and Peck Feeds organic starter crumbles. Whenever you're purchasing feed for your chicks, you want something that's specially formulated for them. You cannot feed them the same thing that you feed layer hens. Their feed is going to change over time and prepare them for the laying feed. I highly recommend looking at Scratch and Peck Feeds. Their feed is non-GMO, organic. They are a family-run business and they source all of their feed from farms in North America. So they're a really awesome company to support, but I understand if you want to get something that's more local to you, that's also a great option as well. Just keep in mind you want to get something that is made specifically for chicks. Now, if you do choose to buy the Scratch and Peck Feed, use our code MasonDixon15 to get 15% off your order. Another thing you need to feed your chicks is chick grit. This is vital to the proper digestion of their food and also helps with the development of their gizzard. When you are looking to purchase grit, make sure it's specifically for chicks. Scratch and Peck Feed also has grit, so use our code again, MasonDixon15 to get 15% off. But what we like to do with this is the first couple of days we mix it in with their feed, and then after that point in time we have a separate container within the brooder that holds the chick grit so that they can choose to eat it when they want to. The last thing we need to talk about is bedding. The bedding that we have in our brooder is hemp bedding. You can also use pine shavings, or you could use some type of paper product. We've tried both of those and they are way too dusty for our chicks. The first time that we raised chicks, we had a lot of problems with our chicks sneezing, and we believe it to be because of the pine shavings.
There you go. You sneezed. Whoa!
We have had these chicks for about a week and we haven't had any issues with sneezing. So we definitely recommend looking into hemp because there is essentially zero dust. What are you babies doing? Huh? Come here. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp, chirp. You gonna drink some water? Oh, yay. Say, we like a clean water and feed setup, huh, Mommy? Stretch. You're also going to need a cover for your brooder as your chicks grow larger. They're going to try to fly and perch on things, and so this will keep them from doing that. Ours is just made out of some recycled garden fence that we had, and you can see in the bigger holes we just tied some string, and this worked out last time we used it. Hello, pretty baby. Say, I'm getting some feathers. Can you show everyone your face? Say, okay everyone, guess if I'm gonna be male or female. Ready, go. Oh my gosh, he has like he has some hairy legs. Do you see the hair? Show everyone your feathers. Whoop, whoop, whoop. See the feathers coming in? Yes, you're gonna be a pretty birdie. Thanks so much for watching. Our next video for the chicks is gonna be on brooder maintenance, but in the meantime, check out our coop design so you can start thinking about yours. Cheep, 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 woo! We're dancing, we're dancing. I love these fluff balls so much. Hello, you're so cute. You're so cute. You're so fluffy. You're so fluffy.